tweak your returns, rebalance often. In this episode, we're going to address the question, what does it mean to rebalance your IUL portfolio? This is episode 10 in a series of 21 titled Secrets to a Tax-Free Retirement. I implore you to invest in this free course that will empower you to accumulate an extra $1 million that can generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income for as long as you live. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've helped people optimize their financial assets, minimize taxes, and not outlive their money in retirement now for more than 45 years. My favorite vehicle is what I affectionately call the L.A.S.E.R fund. L.A.S.E.R is an acronym that stands for Liquid Assets Safely Earning Returns. What is a L.A.S.E.R fund? It is a max-funded, tax-advantaged, indexed universal life insurance contract. It's where I would recommend retirees have 40 to 60% of their retirement assets so that they can have tax-free income that doesn't even show up on their tax return. I mean, the IRS knows they receive it, but they know it's tax-free. It's not even worth auditing because it's been grandfathered in the Internal Revenue Code for over 100 years. If you've already watched that episode, you know the history. So let's talk about how you can tweak your rate of returns by rebalancing your portfolio. I want to illustrate this point by using the worst decade since the Great Depression. It is the decade from 2000 to 2010. First time in American history since the Great Depression, we had two 40% losses in that decade. Generally, in a 10-year period you slice out of American history, you'll have 7 up years compared to 3 down years. That decade, there were 5 loss years, only 5 gain years. So let's see how indexed universal life performed without rebalancing, as if in the year 2000, I had accumulated $1 million up to that point in my life, and it was in my universal life insurance contract. So I'm gonna have $1 million in there, and it's the year 2000, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to make sure that I can preserve this money because most people in America, they have their money in IRAs or 401ks in the market, and they felt like they lost their future twice in that decade. So what happened in 2001? 2 planes flew into 2 skyscrapers in New York, okay? And all of a sudden people stopped going out to dinner, they stopped flying and everything else. I mean, more people in the previous quarter of a century had died in bathtub accidents than in hijacked airplanes. But in 2001, after September 11th, did we stop taking baths? No. But the terrorists accomplished what they wanted to, and they sent the American economy into a tailspin. And so we saw the market drop 40% from 2001 to 2003. People who had $1 million in the year 2000 saw it go down, down, down to 600,000 by the end of 2003. It took 4 years to make back the 40% loss, because a 40% loss has to be followed by a 67% gain to get back to break even. If you had $1 million and drops down 400,000 to 600,000, 600,000 has to make 400,000, which is 67% to make up for the 40% loss. So people felt like they had lost their future. They had to put off retirement 7 years. In 2007, they're ready to go, okay, now we can finally retire. And what happened in 2008? As Warren Buffett put it, he said, when the tide went out, it revealed who was swimming naked. Yeah, there were a lot of Americans that lost 40% again in one single year in 2008. And it took actually until 2012 to get back what they lost. I'm going to chop off in 2010 with an indexed universal life insurance policy. If I fell asleep in the year 2000, I was like Rip Van Winkle. I didn't wake up for 10 years. And all of a sudden in 2010, I wake up and I go, what happened in America while I was out? So when I wake up, I look and say, what happened? You didn't hear about 9/11, the terrorist attacks? You didn't go through 2008? You were asleep? Yeah. And so I go and I look at my indexed universal life policy that had $1 million in it 10 years earlier, and it's got $2 million in it, tax-free. I'm going, it was bad? I doubled my money? You did? Most Americans are still down 38%. Do you know most Americans that started out with $1 million in 2000, in 2010 only had 630,000 to show for it? It took until 2012 to get back to break even at $1 million. My indexed universal life had doubled in that 10-year period because during the 5 years where the market was down, I didn't make anything, but I didn't lose. Zero was my hero. So I didn't lose, but I didn't make anything. I only made money the other 5 years. Now, only 2 of those 5 years did I actually earn the actual cap. But do you know that the average of those 10 years where I only made money 5 years, but I didn't lose the other 5, didn't make anything, but I didn't lose, the average was 7.23% tax-free. Now, if you know the rule of 72, my million doubled to 2 million tax-free. In the worst decade since the Great Depression, if I had fallen asleep, I woke up and doubled my money. Most Americans were still down more than the $370,000, $380,000 on that same million. So rebalancing means once a year. Did you hear that? You don't have to read the Wall Street Journal every day. No, life's not that complicated. It's not buy, sell daily. Once a year, I assess, okay, what do I think is going to happen in the next year? So, for example, I did not earn 5 lost years in that decade. I only earned 2 of those 5 years, 2001, 2008. The other 3 years, I just said, you know what? I think we're going to be in a recession for another year or 2. So just switch me back over and pay me the general account portfolio rate of 5%. That's what it was back then. During the 3 years, instead of earning 0, I rebalanced and I said, until I get signs that the economy is going to start heading back up again, I just want to switch over and settle for the 5%. Now I'm earning 5 for 3 years instead of 0. And then when I see signals that the market is going to come around and head back up again, I go link. And I linked and I was able to earn up to the caps 2 of those 10 years. The other 3 I earned higher than the general account portfolio rate. But here's the message. I went from a 7.23% rate of return, falling asleep, waking up, just never touching it, to 10.07% rate of return because I rebalanced. I was able to tweak my rate of return from 7.2 up to over 10% by simply saying, you know what, link this year, or let's back off and just settle for the general account portfolio rate. Now, I'm simplifying rebalancing in this episode, but you can rebalance by linking to this index and this method and this linking method. For example, when we have a huge crash, that's when you want to turn around and link with maybe a 2-year or a 5-year strategy. There are all kinds of different situations where a trained licensed advisor with an annual appointment, an annual review, can say, you know what, you may want to diversify 30% here, 40% here, and so forth within your universal life insurance policy with this strategy, this strategy, and this strategy. That's called rebalancing your portfolio. And if things are really bad, you just say, you know what, I want to take half of my money or maybe all my money and just settle for the general account portfolio rate until we pull out of this recession and I get signs that we're headed back up again. That's the magic behind the flexibility of max funded indexed universal life. And generally speaking, you can tweak your rate of return probably about 2 to 3% on the average higher by rebalancing instead of just falling asleep and doubling your money. You could triple your money. So that's why I like to extend the lost decade, is what it's called in the financial services industry, from 2000 to 2010 and add 2 more years to 2012, because it took until 2012 for people to make up for the losses they incurred twice during that 12-year period. So if they started out with $1 million in the year 2000, it took until 2012 to get back to break even at $1 million again because of indexing and rebalancing. $1 million tripled to $3 million for thousands of people using this strategy. What would you rather have? $1 million over 12 years, just your money back? Or would you rather have $3 million? The ability to generate $300,000 a year of tax-free income thereafter. If this is resonating and you want to learn more, get a free copy of this book, The L.A.S.E.R Fund. It's my 11th book, 300 pages. I want to empower you. I will pay for the book. You simply go to L.A.S.E.R pay $5.95 shipping and handling, and I'll fire out a book for you. But I also implore you to watch the rest of the episodes in this series, Secret to a Tax-Free Retirement. This is the next one up, and this is to your better future.